Good morning. You're watching Much Ado About Something, and it's Friday. And it's Friday morning. I'm out here in the garden looking around, seeing what all is blooming and accessing the work that needs to be done. And it seems to be that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I mean, some heavy-duty jobs that's probably going to take a day or more each job. And so that's how it is. There's always a lot to be done in a garden, even a small garden. As the season goes, there's just things that need to be done, especially when you grow a lot in a little space like we do here on our little lot in the city. Well, there's some beautiful things growing, and of course I got to share with you what all's changed. We've had more rain, which is always a good thing. You know, I love the rain. I've got raspberry tea this morning on ice. I started off with a picture of that slug because that's how I feel this morning. I'm a little sluggish today. I'm not just peppy and right on it like I should be. Well, those beautiful tiger lilies opened up. They are something else. Really pretty today, and they look really pretty after the rain. Of course, there's the daylilies. Still have some of them, and they're looking beautiful too. I'm hoping the color's showing up for you like it is here. It's an overcast day. The sun hadn't quite come out yet, and it's just beautiful. There's a lot of bird song this morning. There's not a whole lot of new stuff that'll be growing in this garden. I don't have a lot of new stuff that'll be popping out in bloom. The angel trumpets, those plants, they'll be having a bloom. But as far as blooming, if anything else blooms, I think I'll have to add it, like the mums, you know, the things for the fall season. The Virginia creeper, now its leaves will turn orange, and that'll almost look like a bloom, but of course it won't be a bloom. Well, there's two little zinnias that's decided that they would pop out. There is some hummingbird vine that's in this garden, and it will have a little red bloom on it. But it's nothing big and spectacular. It's kind of small, a small red bloom. And this is the way this garden will look until fall. A little more of the pleurisy root decided to bloom with a lot of that good rain. There's the few daylilies that are left. Those Rebecca cherry wine. That passion flower is just hanging with fruit. Still has plenty of blooms left on it. the end of the Queen Anne's lace, and now I'm just letting the flower heads go to seed. Of course, this is my same garden, just showing you different stages of these same plants that I have in my garden every year, which is exciting to me. To see things in different stages. I'm actually going to harvest some sage because I might make sage sauce for either dinner or supper, and I'll have to share that with you. It's a really easy recipe that goes over pasta. And it's good to have fresh sage to make that with. Yeah, I think I'll be sad to see the daylilies go. They are like a burst of sunshine. Some little coleus. There's that little hellebore that I moved and divided. It's coming back good. It's time to harvest some of the money tree seeds. There's been a little squirrel out here nibbling. My little granddaughter saw a squirrel in my flower pots. That basil sure appreciated the rain. I think I'll have to harvest some of it too. My goodness, fresh basil. One of my favorite scents in the world. Delicious. There's the little hanging baskets. They're certainly not dry. Well, that's my delicious herb harvest this morning. I got some basil and I got some sage. I'm gonna make sage sauce for lunch, and I might make some pesto too. Yes, the rain has been plentiful. We've had a plenty of rain, which is a really good thing. It's been really hot this summer, and we're just in early July, so I'm thinking there's probably going to be quite a bit more heat coming yet. We've got everything full, and maybe some of these plants will shade some of the other plants, and the garden will be okay for the rest of the year. I'm not going to do much planting. There probably won't be any more planting that I do to the gardens out here this year. And I did not get everything that I wanted in my garden. It's like that every year though. But I have really enjoyed what's out here, and I've enjoyed seeing it bloom and fill in, even though it wasn't quite what I had planned it to be. I did follow the plan and not to put too many of those impatiens in the ground this year. I did break down and buy a few because I love that flower and put them in hanging baskets, but they still wilted some. So, yeah, so these were the impatiens that were in the hanging basket out here out front. Even though they've had plenty of water, they just didn't thrive in this hanging basket. But they did well in this little, display that I had where the bucket was turned over and the flowers were supposed to be spilling out of it, and then everything grew and covered it up. Well, this is the impatiens that I planted there. And so they did really well right here in this little front area. And then I had some in a window box. And these are right here in the shade. So you can see how well they did in the shaded area versus how well they did out there in the open sun. And I knew that, and I even had it in my plans not to plant the impatiens in the garden area. But for some reason, when I went to look at those plants, there was one of the few plants that I bought from the nursery. One of the reasons, I just must love it because I just picked up a tray of it and couldn't resist it. But that was not one of the plants that I wanted to plant this year out in the garden area. I was going to skip those impatiens altogether, but my instincts, my habits took over. Here's one of them that was in the pot here. I potted that one, so it turned out really pretty, and it's in partial shade. And I guess that's why I want to keep having them. They do have a beautiful bright red color. But I was going to swap out, instead of buying impatiens, I was going to buy verbena. And the first day I got let out and went to the nursery, I just picked up the impatiens. The impatiens do really well for me. They used to do really well for me when I had that big maple tree in the middle of the yard. There was more shade. And each impatient plant that I would put in the ground would get as big as a basketball. So they did really well. But my landscape has changed. That tree's come down and I don't have as much shade. And I have to realize that I have to buy more sun-loving plants. So if I buy any plant, little bedding plants that's already started next year, I am going to try not to get impatiens. I'm going to try to buy something that will fare better out here in this hot sun during the summer. Well, we're in the first week of July, and things are full and blooming. We are trying to keep everything thinned back, and the things that we want to harvest from, we're trying to keep those where we'll be able to get a harvest. Like the echinacea, I still want to harvest the echinacea, and I will get those closer to the final blooming here. And then, of course, the basil, will be harvesting more basil. But that center garden, I don't know if you watch my videos, but if you follow my videos, you can see when we first planted that, how sparse that little center garden was. And that thing is just filled to the max. I'm telling you, I don't think there could be much more planted in that garden, and it's just filled up. And I'm trying to cut back the passion flower some from overtaking the other plants, and getting ready to harvest the passion fruit as soon as they're ripe off of that vine. Well, that's our walk in the garden today. Not a lot has changed. There's a lot that's still looking like it did the last time we checked, but maybe just more of it. And of course the tiger lilies, they all popped out, so that was something different. There's that purple basil. And that thyme is doing really good in that little watering can. I wasn't sure how that would do this year, and that container garden is doing well. Well, I'm going to end this video and be planning to share some things with you in the future. Thank you for joining me for the garden update in the front. And like always, until next time.